Welcome to Threaded South. My name is Ashley. Now in this tutorial, you will learn how to create a Nike graphic tee. Now we're going to start off in Adobe Illustrator and we're going to make a 3D swoosh, and then from there we will apply some layer styles to make this graphic really pop. But before we begin, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right in. The first thing you want to do is open the Nike logo in Illustrator, and here I am just going to image trace it to a black and white logo, and I will get rid of the white background. Now let's make a new document, and I'm just going to make this one 10 by 10. Now from here I'm going to copy and paste the logo over into my new document, and I'm going to change the color of the swoosh to red. Now make sure you copy and paste, because one of these layers will be the top and the other layer will be the bottom. Make the layer 3D and make sure you change the presets to front and the perspective to 160 degrees. Now jump back over to Photoshop and create a new document that is 16 by 20 CMYK 300 DPI. Now pop back over to Illustrator. And now we are going to copy and paste both the top and bottom layer. Name this layer bottom. For this next layer, name it top. And here I am going to add a color fill layer and fill it with 1E2026. Now made the top layer invisible, and now we're going to apply some layer styles. Let's start with bevel and emboss. Change the size to 125. And for gloss contour, select the third one in the second row. Change the highlight mode to luminosity, and the color should be EE2D24 with an opacity of 17%. Now let's add a contour and make sure the range is set to 50%. Let's add a stroke. Change the size to 2. The position should be center. Blend mode should be hard mix. And the color we will be using is C6509D. Now let's add an inner shadow. Change the blend mode to multiply, and the color will be 070808. Change the distance to 3, and the size should be 7. Now go to satin. Change the blend mode to color burn. The opacity should be 75. And the color is B83C4E. Change the distance to 10, and the size will be 60. Change the contour to this one in the first row. Now let's add a color overlay. Change the blend mode to exclusion, and the color will be D9167F. Now let's apply a gradient overlay. The blend mode should be exclusion, and the opacity will be 49%. Now let's add the gradient. The first color will be 8CD2D0. And the next color will be 67C7C4. Now we're going to add these layer styles to the top. Let's add a bevel and emboss. Change the depth to 625%. The direction should be down. The size should be 81. Soften should be 5. Now the highlight mode should be color dodge, and the color will be C46DAC. And change the opacity to 70%. For shadow mode, change it to hard mix. And the color will be 6851A2. And change the opacity to 67%. Now let's add a stroke. Change the size to 10 pixels. The position should be inside. The blend mode will be color dodge with an opacity of 100%, and change the fill type to gradient. The first color will be F5EDED. And the second color will be F8AFAB. Now let's add an inner shadow. Change the blend mode to subtract. And the color will be 3C51A3. And the opacity will be 100%. Change the distance to 10 and the size will be 57. Change the contour to the second one in the first row. Now let's apply an inner glow. Change the blend mode to hard mix with an opacity of 67%. And change the noise to 33. And for the color, use A1237C. Change the choke to 32 and change the size to 166. Change the jitter to 76. Now let's add a satin layer. Change the blend mode to multiply, and the color will be 98 4F9F. Change the distance to 50, and the size should stay at 60, and change the contour to the very first one, and make sure invert is unchecked. Now let's apply a gradient overlay. Change the blend mode to normal with an opacity of 97%. Make sure reverse is checked. For the first color, use 861719. For the next color, use 3C2D2E. Now let's apply an outer glow. Change the blend mode to vivid light. The opacity should be 100%. And the color will be A7D05A. Change the spread to 12%. and the size should be 8 pixels. Change the contour to the last one in the first row and change the range to 23%. Now place both of the top and bottom layer in a group and name it swoosh. Now open up the metallic blue image and rename it. Right-click, convert to Smart Object, and drag it over into our document. Make sure it covers the swoosh. Right-click, create clipping mask, and change the blend mode to lighter color and the opacity to 32%. Now pop over to Illustrator and open up your technology image. Here I will just grab some elements from it and paste it onto my design. Here I will give it a color overlay. The color I will use is 974278. Now I'll pop back over to Illustrator and I will continue these same steps. On some of these I will be using a teal color, and that color is 429497. Now let's add the slogan. And the size of my font is 90 and the tracking is -180. The color I am using is D2489A. Here I will add a quote, and the color I am using is 5BC4BE. Now I am grabbing a soft 900 pixel brush and I'm using the same color as my quote. And from here I will apply a Gaussian blur with a radius of 294.5 pixels. Change this layer to dissolve with an opacity of 9%. And that is how you make a Nike inspired graphic tee. If you like what you saw today, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you would like to grab some merch, head on over to threadedsouth.com. Thanks for watching.